What's up guys, it's Ivan and today I'm gonna share with you all of my tips on how to write a competitive resume for a professional job. Right, so here is the job description for the job I'm planning on applying to. It is due, I believe on March 6th, but the title of the position is Program Activity Manager. And so the reason why I wanted to share the job description first is because that is a big part of how I construct my professional resume. And so I want to see what type of skills they want from their applicants and how I can show those skills on my professional resume. And so let's jump down to the piece where they talk about the position. So we're going to skip this part here. So below is a sample list of duties. And so they want someone who can provide leadership, conduct research, review and analyze statistical data, proposals, write proposals, administrative reports, prepare summaries, narrative, etc. So this is more of like the research stuff that I already do because you have to report information to both the Department of Education as well as the institution. They also want you to be able to implement the assigned project components. This is a grant project that's federally funded. So they want to make sure that you're able to design, implement, and execute on these types of project components. They also want you to coordinate and ensure that you are abiding by the rules, both federal and institutional, and even state for budget and other parts of managing this grant. They want you to have expertise, technical expertise on grant management. They want you to be able to lead a team and hire team members, etc. Right? So we see all these skills here. I'm not going to go through all of them with you today because that's besides the point of this video. But I want you to know that one of the first steps that I take when I'm applying or when I'm trying to develop my professional resume is I want to look at either the major responsibilities, the duties that the employee wants me to have as an applicant. And I want to use keywords from those lists, right? So from this list, I want to use some of these keywords in my professional resume. And then down here, they have like their desired qualifications. So the desired qualifications piece, I use more for my cover letter, but you can also use some of these bullet points, these strong verbs here as part of your construction of your professional resume. Okay, so let's jump in to my master CV. One other tip that I have for you is you should always have a master CV. And so a master CV is really a list of experiences you have had throughout your career, I would say in the last 10 years. So right now, if you are constructing your master CV, it's 2023. So you should be adding things from 2013 to now. So keep it up to date in the past 10 years. And that will help you construct different types of resumes for different jobs. Because again, another tip, you want to make sure you cater your resumes to the job description or whatever you're applying to, whether it's grad school or professional jobs. You want to cater the resume or CV to whatever the employee or the organization is looking for, right? So if you have a master CV, then it's going to be easier for you to pick and pull and delete things that are irrelevant to what they're looking for, right? So as you can tell down below here, my master CV is 8 pages long, and we're going to just briefly go through every section that I have here, and then we're going to start deleting some of the sections that are irrelevant to the job description. So as you can tell here at the top, I have my information. I am going to change this because I'm applying to a professional job. So I'm going to have to put my mailing address, my phone number, and then I'm going to add a link to my LinkedIn account because I preferred putting that versus my address, I guess. I'm going to end up putting my email instead of my address, but you'll see in a little bit how I construct that. But for this one, if I was applying for, let's say, a postdoc or a campus job for my PhD, then I would use this information here because they don't really need to know about my address and my phone number, etc. That will be part of the application versus a resume like this, right? So the next section, or I guess the first section that I have is my education. Your resume or CV should have this as well at the top. And that's going to kind of kickstart and give the committee members an idea of who you are academically, right? So you'll put that there. I also have my research experience section. I think I might just move that somewhere else, but research experience. I have ongoing research projects, so things that I'm doing currently. I have a publication section. I have a conference presentation section. I have an invited talk section. I have a teaching experience section. I have a community college professional experience section, higher education experience section. Then I also have an international education experience section. I have honors and awards. And then I added this new section myself titled professional development, which I'll explain a little bit more of why I added that. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the first step that we're going to be doing here is deleting sections that I think are irrelevant. So I recently added this section down here called professional development. I might change the topic, the subheading of this, because professional development does mean something, but I want to be more specific. And that's one of my tips. When you are writing your subheadings, make sure they're specific to the job description, but they also tell the reader right away what they can expect to learn about in that section, because some of these committee members, they might only skim through your resume and CV. And so if you have subheadings that are very direct and give an idea to the committee member of what they're going to be able to learn from there, that's a great way for you to kind of stand out from other people that are applying, because usually other people that are applying use the generic subheadings, right? They use like skills, education, professional experiences, all these generic subheadings that don't really serve, in my opinion, too much of a purpose. You want every little piece of your resume to serve some type of purpose. So when you are constructing your resume or CV, make sure you're able to justify why you're doing whatever you're doing, right? And I'll explain to you my justifications. All right, so professional development, I'm going to change the subheading, but here's what I have right now. I'm going to change this right here. So I'm going to go back to my honors and awards, and I'm going to add things that I think are relevant to the job description. So for example, I'm going to add on here my, I'm going to keep this NAOP Emerging Leaders Institute Fellow, because here I was trained to be a leader in this organization called TRIO, which I used to work at, and I was selected out of all of the TRIO organizations in the Northwest. So that's like about five states, a bunch of TRIO programs. I was selected as one of, I believe, 12 people to be part of this institute where they train you on how to be a leader in TRIO at a more national level. So I'm going to keep that because that's relevant to the job description. So let's keep that. I'm going to start deleting things here. So I'm going to delete this up here. Let's see, what else can I add from up here? I think I'm going to add my Institute for the Recruitment of Teachers Fellow, only because the job that I'm applying to does require that you have some type of teaching background, even though they state that they want someone in the STEM field because it's a STEM program. I'm still going to put that there because I wasn't trained in STEM or anything, but I do have the teaching pedagogy background. And a lot of these programs use this thing called, this concept, this framework called culturally responsive teaching pedagogy or culturally responsive curriculum. But so I want to showcase that I do have some type of teaching pedagogy background that I can still apply to the STEM field, even though it's not STEM specific. So let's keep that. Let's see, what else can I add on here? I think I'm going to add my research fellow stuff, only because, as we read earlier in the job description, they want me to be able to analyze data and write reports. So I want to showcase that I do have the research background that I can fall back on when I am going to be writing those reports. So let's do that one. I think I'm going to add these research ones up here for now. And again, I might change these just because right now we're in the planning phase of it, and then we're going to go in there later on in my second phase of constructing this and actually digging through the things that are relevant and irrelevant. I'm also going to add here my AERA teaching fellow training because that's part of research. So let's add that down here. And then I think for now, I'm going to add this writing portfolio distinction because I want to showcase that I'm a good writer. And I actually got an award for this. So I'm going to take that out or put that down here. Let's see. I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this honors and awards. For jobs, they don't really care about your honors and awards, to be honest. They don't care about that. They care more about the technical, practical experiences you have had. So I'm going to delete all this. They don't really care about my awards, so delete. And then we're going to work with this professional development piece later on. I am going to add a couple other things because I did go to some trainings that are relevant to the job description in my previous job that I haven't added to my master resume. Let's jump into international experiences. So because this job is at a community college, they don't really care about my experience in the international, internationally. So we are going to go ahead and delete this international work that I did because it's irrelevant. So let's delete that. Okay, so now we're going to jump into this section I actually titled Higher Education Experience. And this section here, I'm going to change that subheading because as you can tell before that, I had community college professional experience. So I'm going to change this over here, but we're going to go through it and I'm going to just delete things that I think are relevant. So we're going to keep my San Diego City College graduate student intern position because that is really relevant to what I would be doing as a manager or director for the job I'm applying to. So we're going to keep that. This graduate school consulting thing that I have is actually my business here that I have with my YouTube channel and my other social media platforms where I help put prospective graduate students with their graduate school application. So I'm going to keep that because it shows that I can take an idea and build something from it. The job I'm applying to is actually one that is a grant project, right? So the federal government or the institution won a federal grant and they're seeking someone that can construct it from scratch, right? From ground zero. All they have right now is the money and that's it. They're trying to hire the rest of the personnel and they're trying to build this program to support Latino STEM students, right? So with this experience here, I'm showcasing that I can take something from nothing and build it up to something, right? And that's one of the premises of this grant. So I'm gonna keep this, and then when I talk about it either in my cover letter and my interview, I can speak about it in that sense. But for now, we'll keep it here. Then the next one that I have here is my other position as a grad student, which was with another program that was student-centered. So I'm gonna keep it here because I'm trying to showcase to the committee members of the job that I'm applying to that I have experience with programs. Even though this one's not grant-based, federal grant-based, it is still the chancellor actually dedicated some of their funding to keep this program running. So I want to keep it here because I want to showcase that I do have experience building out and developing workshops, developing programs for students to succeed, right? So we're going to keep this here. I'm debating if I want to keep my college mentor program experience here, but I think I'm going to keep it for now, only because it's showcasing that I'm also out there in the community, helping community members, but also it strengthens my skill set on college access, how to apply to colleges, etc., which is part of the job description. I'm going to keep Cambridge School Volunteers. The thing that I'm going to do though is beef it up because it looks really small right now, but I'm going to keep that there because I was working as a program assistant. So again, it showcases some of the skill sets that I'm going to be doing in the job, right? So let's keep that there. I'm going to keep this Harvard Graduate School of Education Admissions Ambassador because again, it showcases my college access work. And then these last two here, I'm going to delete only because these were, as you can tell, back in 2011 to like 2015. Even though they were great experiences at the time, they're a little bit outdated. This was my undergraduate education work that I did, so I'm going to delete it just because it's a little bit outdated. And again, one of the tips that I do want to give you here is you want to keep it concise. And when you are applying for a position, you have to kind of get an idea of what level it's at. So if you're applying for like more of an entry level position, then you should have a resume size of 1.5 to 3 pages. If you're applying to a more higher level position like I am here, then you are expected to have at least a 3 to 5 page resume or CV, right? Because these are higher level positions. They're asking for more of the applicant. So you want to showcase all the skill sets that align with the job description. So I'm going to try to keep mine somewhere between 3 to 5 pages. So I'm trying to delete as much as I can. All right, so now let's go up to my community college professional experiences. I'm going to keep this one here because this is work that I did with federal grants and grant management. And so that's really directly tied to what the committee is looking for in terms of me applying for this job. The thing I'm going to do later is I'm going to move some of these sections up because they want to know right away what professional experiences you have. They list this on the job description. They want you to have at least 5 years of ongoing manager, director, what's it called, experience. And so I want to show that right off the bat when they review my resume. So I'm going to move these sections up above, and then I'm going to just kind of reconstruct the way that I have my sections. So now let's go up to teaching experience. I'm going to keep this section and I'm going to add one more section. So I'm going to copy and paste this here. And this is usually what I do. So once you have a template that you like, just copy and paste things and then copy and paste it here. And then I'm going to change it here. So I'm going to write here Lincoln Middle School. And then it was in this area called Clarkston, Washington. And this was where I did my student teaching. So I want to showcase that I have experience just teaching in general, right? So because the job description does ask about, or one of the preferred requirements of the applicant is teaching experience. They do say teaching experience in STEM, but I don't have that experience in STEM, right? So I'm going to showcase it in other ways. So I'm going to showcase that I do have teaching experience. And I did this as I was a student teacher. So I did this from January, I believe it was 2016, January 2016, or no, it was 2015, because I graduated in 2015. Okay, so to May 2015. Okay, so then let's jump back. All right, and then I'm going to change this right here to student teacher. So the way that I prefer to set up my resumes or CVs is you want to have them really clean and easy to read. So I like this format here. So at the top right here, my bolded, you put the name of the organization. In this case, it was a middle school. Then on the right-hand side, you put the location. So Clarkston, Washington. Then you put your title. So what was your working title? Mine was student teacher. Then you put the dates or years that you did the work. I like to stick to just years, but because this experience here was only for 1 semester, I'm going to add the month and year. So that's what I'll do here. Later on, I'm going to change this here to for me to be able to explain what I did as a student teacher. My first bullet and your first bullet should always be a description of what you were doing. So for me, I was an English language arts middle school teacher. And I'll explain more about it here. But in your first bullet, you always want to give some background of who you are, right? Or what you did, because as you can tell in my headings, none of it say English language arts teacher, right? So I want to explain that in my first bullet, and I'll work on that later on, but let's move up. So once I'm done with teaching experience, we're going to look at invited talks. So for invited talks, this is more relevant, in my opinion, for like an academic CV or resume. And these are pretty much places that I've been invited to do different workshops or different talks. So for example, a lot of this is geared towards graduate school application stuff. So I was invited by a bunch of different organizations to do these workshops. And I think at this point, right now, I'm going to keep it only because now I'm thinking about it in the sense that as a director, a potential director, I'm going to have to present about the program to different organizations, but also I'm going to have to develop and facilitate workshops for the students. So this is going to showcase that people trust me in my knowledge of certain topics, in this case, graduate school. So it might show the committee that people or organizations do trust my expertise in different things, and they invite me to do these types of talks. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this though to maybe the end of my resume because it's not as relevant as other things. So we'll move that later, but we'll keep everything for now. And I guess another strategy that I do want to mention is that if my resume seems too long, I think 6+ pages is way too long. I'm just gonna go ahead and either condense it or delete it because it's not as relevant. I can still talk about this though in my cover letter or even my interview, but for the purpose of this document, submitting a resume, I believe that if this gets to more than 6 pages long, then I'm gonna delete it. But for now, let's keep it. This next section here is actually my conference presentations. I think I'm going to condense this and take out my undergraduate stuff only because, again, it's a little bit outdated, but also I don't want this resume to get too long. So let's take off those. And I'm only going to keep my most recent grad school PhD level presentations because those are things that I did recently. And I might actually merge these two invited talks and conference presentations into one. I don't know yet, but for now, we're going to keep just those four there because those are the ones that I did as a PhD student. And then we'll keep these down here as well. But let's move on. Publications for this resume, I'm going to delete because they don't really, these are all, first of all, they're outdated. They're from undergrad, but also they don't really care about publications for a professional job. Let's delete that. So they also have this ongoing research project section. I think I'm going to go ahead and delete it only because, again, if I was applying for like a research job or an academic job that required me to be, published or just work on research, then I would keep it. But the committee members for this professional job don't really care about this because they're not asking me to produce research as part of the job description. So let's go ahead and delete it. And just because I'm deleting some of these sections doesn't mean I still can't talk about them in my cover letter or even in my interview. Some of these things you might want to talk about in your interview if you want, but they shouldn't be the main topic because, again, you're not applying for a research job. You're applying for a professional job that's more practical. So let's go ahead and delete that. And then now we have this research experience section. I think for now, I'm going to keep it, but I think I'm going to end up either deleting it or condensing it because I might just condense it, take out my undergraduate stuff because at this point, those don't matter. The top ones, the ones that I'm doing currently as a PhD student, kind of do matter only because, for example, for this Chancellor's Associate Scholars Program one, I wrote a program evaluation for them. And that's something that I'm going to be doing with the director role. I'm going to be writing formative evaluations and then summative evaluations as part of the job description. So if I make that part of this description here, I think it would serve me well. So I'm thinking now that I'm kind of talking through this with you guys, I'm thinking I'm going to do that. So I'm going to delete my undergraduate ones because these are more research focused and they're a little bit outdated. So let's delete. And then we're going to keep this one here. And then this is the one that I'm currently doing. So this one's more community based, but I'm going to keep it because I'm doing this methodology called Youth Participatory Action Research, YPAR, and it's very student-centered. And so this type of program, what I want to do as a director is I want to make sure that I listen to the students and listen to what their needs are. And if I already have this methodology in mind that I can employ to this position, that's going to serve me well because I want it to be very student-centered because we want to learn from what the students want, right? So I want to showcase that I have this methodological experience that I can apply to a director role. So let's keep it. And then now we're up to the education piece. So we're going to keep the education piece as is. I have my teacher certification for Washington with my endorsement. I have both of my bachelor's degrees with my advisor. So here, if you are writing a professional resume or even academic resume, make sure you write an advisor that advised your thesis. I'm not talking about the advisor that you go to help you with your academic planning, your courses. Not that. This advisor was my undergraduate thesis advisor. So if you did research at the undergraduate level, write your undergraduate thesis advisor. And the only reason why I say that is because you never know if the committee members might know the scholar at like the national level, or maybe they worked with them. That's going to give you some, I guess, indirect points because these resumes aren't judged on a point scale, but it gives you these like points that are like helpful in you moving forward with the next steps of the application. Because if they already worked with your advisor, it kind of showcases that your advisor chose a mentee that they trust, right? And you're working with them. So they trust their expertise, with which in essence, they kind of trust you as well. So keep that there. Then I have my Harvard degree. And again, I put my advisor here, Dr. Karen Mapp. And for this purpose, I put her there because she's a nationally renowned scholar in family engagement. And so if anybody on the committee has either read her work, went to her workshops, or just worked with her in general, or read her books, then that's going to give me a good it's going to give me some of those extra indirect points, right, that I was talking about. And then I have my current experience. And again, I put my advisor because she is well known as well, especially here in California. The other ones are not from the state of California, but Dr. Francis Contreras is well known in California and in San Diego. So I want to keep her there so I can get those points as well. And I do, and then I do know that she has worked with a bunch of community colleges in this area. So hopefully the committee members know who she is. And then again, at the top, I'm going to keep my name here in bold. Make sure your name is big so they know who you are. But I'm going to go ahead and delete this section here. And I'm going to start writing like my phone number. So I'm just going to put this here, but that way when you're working on yours, you can write, your stuff. So phone number, email address, and then here either your professional website or LinkedIn account. And make sure your LinkedIn account or any of these links that you're linking here, that you're hyperlinking, that they are professional and something that you would want to present to a professional committee. And that's what I'm going to fill in when I start constructing mine. All right, so let's go ahead and start moving some things around. For the purpose of this video, because it is getting kind of long, I'm not going to go into every little detail for every experience. I'm going to give you one example. That way you can take that and work on yours. But that's what I'm going to do because I have a lot of sections here. So let's start moving things around. So I want my professional experience to be at the top, right after my education, because again, the job description wants that. So I'm going to move up my community college experience section right after my education so the committee members know right away that I have the professional experience for the job. So let's move that down here, copy and paste. Okay. Then I'm also going to move my other experiences. So the higher education one that I was talking about, we're going to move that after my community college stuff. And again, I'm going to change the name of the subheadings so it can be a little bit more, so it can stand out a little bit more. So let's move that up to after the community college stuff. So let's move that there. All right. So now here, I think I'm going to move my teaching experience part of it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to take out the student teacher part. I don't think it's as relevant as my TA stuff that I do as a PhD student. So let's take that out. And then I'm going to move my teaching experience section. Teaching experience section. Let's cut it. Let's move it after my higher education experience. Okay, so now we are gonna think about this. So I think I'm gonna keep, or I'm gonna move, hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna move this research experience section after the teaching experience. And later I'm gonna show you the final product in terms of how I move things around, so you can get an idea of how you can move your sections around. So let's cut that and then move it after teaching experience. So here, okay. And so now I'm gonna have my conference presentations here, and then my invited talks and my professional development. And as you can tell right now, it's already at 5 pages. So it actually worked out, right? So that's perfect. So let's go through every section so you can get an idea of how to organize yours. So at the top, I have my name, I have my education section, I have my professional experience at community college because the job is at a community college. I have my higher education experience, which is going to showcase all of my experiences in higher education that are not community college or are community college. Then I have my teaching experience section, research experience section, conference presentations, invited talks, and then professional development. And that's how I'm going to construct my professional resume for this job that I'm applying to. So the last thing that I wanted to show you all is really how to write out your bullets for your experiences. And so we're gonna show you I'm gonna show you the example of my community college professional experience job as a example of what you could do for yours. So as you can tell right now, for every experience, you want to have a minimum of 3 bullet points, 3 to 5 bullets. I think that you should have something along the lines of 4 to 5 as a minimum, but you can choose to do whatever you want. But 4 to 5 is a good start, if not more, especially if you were at the job for a long period of time. So I was at this job for 4 years. So I want to make sure that I tackle every single part of the manager role that I did that fits with what they're asking for in the job. So the first bullet that I wrote is how much money I was in charge of. So I was in charge of $1.3 million budget distributed over 5 years. So every year I was managing around $200,000, I think, and something along those lines. But I was managing a large sum of money. And so I want to showcase that right away because the grant that I would be directing is a little bit more than 1.3. I believe it's $3 million budget. And so I want to make sure that I showcase to them that I know how to manage large sums of money and I know how to manage them to follow federal and state and institutional guidelines, right? So that's the next bullet here. I put down the ways in which I use different types of systems to manage these large budgets. Something that I do want to make you aware of is every bullet you write needs to start with a strong verb. So my strong verb here is ensured. Then the next one is recruited, supervised, provided, led. So you want to make sure every bullet starts off with the strong verb, and then you want to make sure that the following part of the description is specific. So let's jump down to the last bullet here. Led a team of 4 faculty and staff through the grant writing process, wrote a large portion of the grant, which was awarded for the 2021 through 2026 years. So you see how specific I am? So I wrote 4 faculty instead of just saying, led a team of faculty and staff members. How many faculty and staff members are you leading? How many participants are you working with? So in the bullet before that, provided academic, career, and personal counseling to 140 participants per academic year and developed an annual summer bridge and transfer mentor program. So that's very specific. It's telling the committee that I worked with 140 students every year on academic, career, and personal counseling. And I also developed a summer bridge program and transfer mentor program that's going to help them, achieve their goals and achieve successful results to these students. So I want you to be that specific when you're describing what you did at that job. And go and feel free to use this template that I have here. So you do exactly what I did. Up here, what's the organization name? What's your title down below? The location, the years that you were in the role, right? So use this exact template here. It's clean, easy to read. If someone would skim through this, they would be able to kind of jump into whatever they want to learn more about. And even if I skim through this, as you can tell, you can see how specific and detailed I was in my bullet points. You see data, you see numbers, you see money, you see names of different things that I used, you see years, you see, again, numbers and data. And so when you revise your resume or CV, I want you to implement these types of tips, right? So make sure you have data, make sure you have numbers in the form of just numbers, money, etc. That's going to make your resume or CV stand out from the crowd.
Alright guys, if you got value from this video, please give it a like and subscribe. I'm going to link my other resume tip videos in the description down below, as well as my feedback service that I provide on Fiverr in case you are in need of someone to give you feedback on your resume or CV, either for graduate school or a professional job. Click on the link down below and chat with me, and I will see how I can help you build a more competitive resume or CV. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.